Prova microfono, prova microfono. Ok. Buongiorno.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome both those who are present in this beautiful library of the Historic Archive of Contemporary Arts and those who are with us in streaming. It is important to be here and to be here with many new elements from the point of view of the movies selected and also some changes within the structure of the film festival. Alberto Barbera will tell you about that. I will speak longer so you're happy. I'm joking. I would like to start from COVID so we avoid other questions. Last year, we started knowing very little, and not only us, also physicians and the world of medicine in general. We managed to organize our film festival in person, collaborating with the authorities and with the safety and security protocol that was extremely effective. This year, we hoped we could be more relaxed. For the time being, it isn't so, but we continue to hope. We have vaccines this year. We will have this green pass that should allow us to be safer, but there are restrictions in any case. The number of spectators in the theaters will be again 4,000 seats in total. The controls will be the same as last year. It is compulsory to reserve your place. You have to book your seat in advance online, something that was quite appreciated by the public. We also have this year the request for a green pass, that is a new requirement. Alberto will illustrate his very rich program, and somehow we'll have to keep into account the fact that unless things change, we will have to leave out some titles and some screenings at the same time because of time problems. We will have the Arsenale open to some screenings for the film festival and also on the mainland. What is happening, what we are experiencing now is a great interest, the desire to be here. There is increase in the presence of representatives of the press. We hope we will have a large presence of delegations accompanying the movies. It is early to give you numbers about the accreditations and above all sales that are not yet open. What can I say? We are ready, we hope, for the whole world, for Italy and for Venice in particular. In particular, we hope infections will slow down so that we can open even more our rooms, our theaters, but we will in any case respect the rules. Something I have to announce: for the first time this year, Film Festival, Settimana Internazionale della Critica and Giornata degli Autori will celebrate together an Italian author, Cito Maselli. On the 5th of September, there will be a small ceremony. In a theater, we will screen his movie, restored movie, Storia d'amore. Valeria Golino won the Coppa Volpi with that movie. One of the most important new elements is the commitment that the whole of the Biennale is devoting in what we define carbon neutrality. We have seriously and scientifically started research work by developing a carbon management plan that will be implemented starting this year after the film festival, also to the other events organized by the Biennale. What does this mean in concrete? We will try and measure all the greenhouse gas emissions as much as possible, both directly and indirectly. And the project will be organized following the rules of the British Standard Institution for carbon emissions. Moreover, the final result of these measurements and the reaching of the objectives will be certified by RINA, an international accreditation institution. We are concretely trying to deal with sustainability. We have this study, and starting with the film festival, we will start with our project of implementation of this carbon measurement procedure. The film festival is the first festival that starts with a certification process. It is important, I think. The Biennale has an important investment plan, and sustainability is the key word in these times. Together with resilience, we have already passed the first tests. Let us try to implement what we have learned so far. Allow me to thank our sponsors. Last year, we were not abandoned by our sponsors, who have confirmed their commitment and their support. The same was true for theater, music, and dance. We have already had theater this year. Dance is underway. Armani Beauty, who is the main sponsor, was turned into a main sponsor. Campari, Cartier, and MasterCard, our main sponsors. Fundamental partners are the Ministry of Culture, Regione Veneto, the Municipality of Venice, and the Superintendency of Venice. RAI was very present also in the other events, also in the other exhibitions. We have signed a media partnership protocol with Rai Cultura, with RAI in particular. And the film festival will see the presence of RAI not only with the regular news, but also with special editions, special broadcast on the festival. I pass the floor to Alberto. Thank you, President. Here we are. We are here and we will be in person with some limitations and some health precautions. Last year we had hoped that that could be a new return to normality, but that wasn't the case. And so we had the second and third wave that have concerned us to date. We have been working, however, to prepare this section, to select the movies. We have summed up the movies of 2 editions. I was surprised. We were surprised by the average quality, if this term has a meaning, that is in general higher than usual, as if the pandemic had stimulated creativity in all sectors. And as a consequence, many could apply, could be admitted in our program, and instead many had to be rejected because of lack of space. For this reason, I feel I can be optimistic on the state of health of cinema in general, despite the difficulties of this industry in the present and also in the future. But with Green Pass and vaccinations going on, we really hope we will be able to have autumn 2021 as the beginning of a desired new start. We have many movies, some general remarks, however, before starting. The first is that this year we have movies from all over the world, just a few absences, China perhaps, but it is present anyway with 2 shorts and some co-productions, and there is in any case a movie from Taiwan. The rest of the continents are well represented. We have more countries than last year. 59 countries are present in Venice. A special mention should be given to the Italian presence, which is more consistent than in the past. We have 5 movies in competition, 3 movies out of competition, and many movies in the collateral sections. We are not trying to support our cinema in a moment of particular difficulty. I think that the selection, the Italian selection, is the picture of a situation of good health when filmmakers can express at their best, and other filmmakers become reference figures for the authors of the future. We had last year 8 female directors in the main competition. We have 5 this year. It might seem a step backwards, but it is just a partial point of view. The female directions were 28% of the total last year. This year they are 26%. It is just a slowdown, I would say. This productive slowdown has impacted perhaps more the female component of this industry, but I am convinced it is just a temporary situation, and we really hope they will recover their share of the production. One last consideration, there is a strong comeback of the Americans, Warner Bros., Universal, Disney. They are present this year in Venice. And we have a coming back of stars and VIPs that were not present last year. Americans have emerged from their lockdown, and they are ready to restart. Something we hope will coincide with the next screenings, with the screenings in the next months, something we can only be happy of. And now the official selection for Venice 78. Let us start with Biennale College Cinema. In its 9 years of life, Biennale College Cinema has developed and financed a total of 28 feature films, each one of which has received 150,000 euros for the production. In 2017, we also had Biennale College VR, virtual reality. that contributed to the production of 7 projects financed with 60,000 euros each. And I'm mentioning these figures because they are a measure of the success of an initiative that started as a bet and that has turned into a low-cost productive reality that is among the most efficient in the world. And we are very proud of it. We have 6 films in Biennale College Cinema this year, 4 of them realized in 2021, 2 coming from last year that had been blocked by the pandemic. And the titles are, you see them on 2 slides. You can see the 6 of them. The complete program of Venice VR Expanded will only be announced in a few days, but I anticipate that it will include a project realized within Biennale College Virtual Reality. It is Labyrinthos by Amir Admoni. Orizzonti. Over the years, Orizzonti has emerged as a shop window that can valorize the selected movies and promote directors who have then emerged at international level. Many of them have gained awards in other festivals or were distributed with success in numerous countries. Many started from Orizzonti to have a career that has turned them into references in modern cinema. Many of them passed to the main competition after being in Orizzonti, and this is a good sign of loyalty, of mutual loyalty, and of effectiveness for the film festival. This year we will have 2 authors who were in Orizzonti in previous years, who are this year in the main competition. 19 movies selected for Orizzonti and 14 shorts, 12 of them in competition. You see the titles in my slides, 2 of them out of competition. A short by Barbara Paz and 1 by Giuseppe Piccioni. Feature films, there are 19 feature films. The opening movie is Les Promesses by Thomas Cicutto, a director, very interesting director, who had already emerged 5 years ago with the debut movie La Mécanique de l'Ombre. We did not invite him, but it was in the list for a long time. His new work has an exceptional cast, Isabelle Huppert, Reda Kateb. It is asking a topical question. What is the relation between political integrity and the electoral promises of a candidate mayor facing his ambition? Atlantide is the first Italian movie in competition for Orizzonti. Yuri Ankarani, the director, is a young video artist and documentary maker with a great talent. He was launched in Locarno in past years. His new ambitious work was shot in Venice. It is one of the many movies that were shot in Venice this year. We couldn't invite them all, and we are sorry about that. It deals with the story of young people of the lagoon who live on their boats, and they have an exclusive horizon of a small world without great prospects for the future. Miracle, a movie by a Romanian director. Last year, he had really impressed us with his previous movies that was not invited. Neidentificat was the title. Miracle by Bogdan Georgia Petri is a confirmation of the talent, convincing talent of this director. It is not easy to tell the story without making spoilers, so I will let you discover the surprise of this movie, which is rigorous and moving at the same time. Debut movie, Pilgrims by Laurence Baresa. A first feature film by a director who was in competition with a short in 2017, a debut that is extremely convincing, a ritual living out of the morning, a pilgrimage that slowly develops as an exploration of a trauma. Laura Bispuri, she doesn't need any presentation. She comes to Venice with a third feature movie, an important cast, Alba Rohrwacher, Maya Sansa, Dominique Sanda. The story tells of the unforeseeable, unpredictable dynamics of a family meeting for the birthday of the old mother. From Taiwan, we have a director, Chu Mong-hon. I had fallen in love with for his previous movie. Pubu the Falls is the title of the movie we have in competition in Orizzonti this year. It was an impressive movie. Again, we have a story of a collapse of a family after unexpected expectation that were not realized and unexpected tragedies. He's also a cinematographer working for the other directors. From Mexico, we have Joaquin Del Paso, who was assistant director for Jaime Escalante, a good school, I would say, because the result is extremely satisfactory. The movie is a metaphoric tale of Buñuel-style atmospheres, teasing the educational system in Mexico. Amira is the new movie by Mohamed Diab, the most promising filmmaker of the new generation of Egyptian directors. He was in Cannes with the previous movie of his, Clash, in Un Certain Regard. He's interested in the social and political events of the society in Egypt. This time, he deals with the Palestinian issue, a subject which is extremely topical. We know very little about this problem. The problem of Palestinian children conceived with the sperm of fathers who are left out of jail unlawfully. A Plein Temps is the second impressive movie by Eric Gravel, with Laurie Calamy, who is the protagonist. You will certainly remember her in a TV series called My Agent. She's a single mother who has to take care of a daughter while running after a better job than the one she has, while in Paris there is a strike of transports. It is a breathtaking movie forcing us to reflect on the condition of women left with alone to their destiny. Another movie on the female condition, 107 Mothers by Peter Kerekes. He's a Czech documentary maker. He spent 7 years with the prisoners and the staff of a female prison in Ukraine, and the result of this process is a touching tale about maternity, motherhood in a prison, a hybrid mixture of a documentary and of fiction, very rigorous and very moving. It is the first time we have a movie from Kosovo in Orizzonti, a debut movie by Katrina KRASNIQI. VERA, Dreams of the Sea is the title. A beautiful story about a single woman who opposes the rubber wall of a conservative society, an intense, unreconciled movie, as many other portraits we have seen recently in cinema, in Cannes as well. I'm thinking of La Civile and Amparo. It is not by chance that these themes are present to share the idea of a fight men can no longer help their women with. Another debut movie by a young Cambodian director of the post-Khmer Rouge generation, KAVICH NEANG. He's facing the theme of intergenerational relations and the urban landscape of Phnom Penh. A great building at the center of the city, hosting many families, has to be demolished, and the movie reflects on the reactions and the pressures the inhabitants, friends, and neighbors are subjected to, with great empathy and participation. The following movie, Anatomy of a Time, VERA, is an expected movie by an author, Jacques Vraval Nitam Rong. The title in English, again, is Anatomy of a Time. Nitam Rong won with his previous movie, his first movie, the Rotterdam Festival in 2015, a reflection on time, the conflict between generations, the abuse of men on women, the wounds of a society that has for a long time been dominated by a violent and bloody regime. A demanding movie for the audience as well, because it mixes up time planes, present, past, and future mix up, generating beautiful images. And then another comeback, El Otro Tom by Rodrigo Pla and Laura Santullo, the couple of authors who had opened Orizzonti some years ago in 2015 with Un Monstruo de Mil Cabezas. This new ambitious movie is an investigation on a complex relationship between a single mother and a son with behavioral disturbances. The father is absent, and there is an interference by the American social services. It is not a medical story, but a very sensitive portrait. From Bolivia, we have El Gran Movimiento by Kiko Russo, one of the most interesting debut from the Latin American continent. It is an experimental documentary, a symphony between a great metropolis, La Paz, and the story of some miners who have come to the town looking for a job. Class fight, the harshness of labor, but also a healer, a wandering healer. From India, we have a movie by Aditya Vikram Sengupta, Once Upon a Time in Calcutta. It is the long feature film by this director, an ambitious movie, a step forward from the minimalist approach of his previous movies, a choral fresco of Calcutta, of contemporary Calcutta, based on a central figure, a female figure, touching and complex, facing the collapse of a present situation and with a heavy past. The film that will close Orizzonti is Rino, Ukraine, by the Ukraine director Oleg Sentsov. He's not only famous for his documentaries, but also for having been jailed and condemned to 20 years of jail in a Russian prison because he was against the annexion of Crimea by Putin. and he was then freed because of international pressures. This is not a documentary. It is a fiction film. It tells of the success of Ukraine mafia in and the story of a small violent criminal, ruthless criminal, down to the final redemption. It is exceptionally talented. True Things by Harry Woodliff. Harry? She's a young, talented director with a second feature film. She tells the stories of female obsessions, facing them from a very original point of view. In her debut movie, Only You, the desire was that of becoming a mother. In the second work, her main concern, living at the margin of society, is not being alone, also at the risk of entering a toxic relationship. And the main interpreter, extraordinary interpreter, is Ruth Wilson. One last movie, the only animation movie in this film festival, comes from Japan, Inuho by Yuasa Masaki. Adult animation for a young cult director, well known in the anime landscape in Japan. The starting point is the reconstruction of the Donura battle in the 14th century. But also we find a kind of rock opera that turns into a touching and universal drama on the narration against the reasons of power in history. There is a new section this year. It is Orizzonti Extra. The title makes us think of an expansion of the Orizzonti section. What is new is that for the first time an award will be given, will be attributed by the public, the spectators who will physically see these movies. They will be able to vote with a code, with a barcode, one of the 8 movies we have included in this competition. It opens with Land of Dreams by Shirin Neshat. Coming back, she was in competition in Venice. She also won a Silver Lion. She's an Iranian artist working in the US. She's working with Soja Azari. I will tell you nothing about this. There is a radical change in her directing style, and we have also Matt Dillon in the movie, ready to face to have relation with the larger public. Costa Brava, Lebanon, it is the international title, by Muniaki, is the first movie, debut movie by a young Lebanese director who lives between Beirut and New York. It is placed in a dystopic future, the story of a family that withdraws in an isolated place, trying to recreate a small heaven threatened by the building of a large dump. A great cast, Nadine Labaki and Salem Bakri, the protagonists, the most important Lebanese actors at present. There is a reference to Mosquito Coast by Peter Weir, and Captain Fantastic is not a chance. From Russia, we have Mama Yadoma by Vladimir Bitokov. The story, again, is the story of a brave mother fighting against the system, in this case, the Soviet regime. The brave mother is the leitmotif in many movies this year, and this probably means something. A great performance by Ksenia Rapoport, the protagonist. Manui by Antoinette Boulard, a debut movie. She's one of the most important casting directors in France. It is a nice example of post-Nouvelle Vague French cinema with two very good actors, Tom Mercier and debuting Lou Lampros, promising actress. We will hear about her. It is a movie on young people today, their relations with these difficult times. The movie is co-produced by the Dardenne brothers. We also have an Italian movie, La ragazza ha volato by Vilma Labate. Labate was in Venice before, in 2018, with the documentary. She's coming this year with a subject movie written by the D'Innocenzo brothers. It is a movie on male violence and female resistance, treated with respect, sensitivity, and a very young protagonist, Alma Noce, who is a real revelation. We will hear about her in the future. From Brazil, we have the second movie by Alexandre Morato, Seven Prisoners. The film is co-produced by Ramin Barani and Mereyes. It is a story of a group of country boys who accept a job as building workers in the city, and they become the slaves of their employer. It is a denunciation of modern slavery in Brazil, in contemporary Brazil, and there is the moral dilemma of the protagonist who has to choose between taking part with the slave owner or risking the future of his family. I will not try to pronounce the original title of this movie. The English title is easier, A Blind Man Who Did Not Want to See Titanic by Timo Nicki. It is perhaps the most peculiar movie in this selection. It is written by the actor who is blind as the protagonist of the movie, and it tells the dangerous journey by train. He started to meet a woman she met virtually from remote. The point of view of the movie and of the spectator coincides with the point of view of the protagonist and is totally out of focus. We see what the protagonist sees, and nevertheless, there is a growing tension in the movie. I will not tell you anything more because there is a growing tension during the whole movie. The last movie is Italian, La macchina delle immagini di Alfredo C. by Roland SEJKO, an original editing work of shots made in Albania after the end of the Second World War by a man who was detained there together with other 27,000 people from his country. It is archive material that is very interesting and make this movie something really peculiar. Out of competition, we have different subsections, some special screenings, a documentary on the 7 days of Bergamo. The title tells you everything. It was shot during the pandemic last year. And the second special screening will be the pre-opening of the festival, a documentary commissioned, a kind of diary of the pandemic, shot by Andrea Segre to tell about the historic edition of the film festival of last year. There is a section of out-of-competition shorts, 3 of them. Tsai Milyang and Radu Yude do not need any introduction. Allow me to say a few words about Vasily. That is a pseudonym. The author shot this movie little time ago during the harsh repression against street protest after the coup d'etat in Myanmar. The movie is an impressive testimony of what it means to live under a dictatorship and a cruel regime. I seriously doubt the author will be in Venice in person. But I invite you to see that movie. It is only 15 minutes, but really impressive. Out of competition, non-fiction. The movies we defined as documentaries in the past, we prefer to define them as non-fiction. The first is a new documentary by John Alpert, who was in Venice 2 years ago, with a documentary shot in Cuba over 50 years. John Alpert, this time, followed for 36 years 3 small criminals in New Jersey telling their addiction to drugs, their coming in and out of jail, their fight to become clean, their relapses. They build a relation of empathy with the audience, stressing their human side. Tranché by Luc Bourreau is a debut film by a young French documentary maker who spent some months in the trenches of Donbass in Ukraine to document the war between independent supporters and the pro-Russian troops that still fight as if the war should never end. Viaggio nel crepuscolo, an Italian documentary by Augusto Contento. I can only define it as unpredictable and surprising. It starts from the analysis of some movies by Bellocchio, and it is a reflection on the Italian cinema of the mid-60s and 70s, declarations by journalists, magistrates, actors, philosophers, critics, people of the world of cinema, resorting to beautiful animation and suggesting different interpretations of that time of the history of our country. Republic of Silence by Diana El Giroudi, another peculiar movie. It was shot over 12 years from the beginning of the Syrian spring that ended up with the civil war to today. A 3-hour documentary that is trying to tell the personal, political, and social story of one of the strangest and most violent times in the Middle East story. In the words of Orvan Irabia, the husband of the director and the producer of the movie, Republic of Silence can be seen as a movie on love, resilience, war, history, Middle East, exile, and Europe. A very peculiar and risky cinema experience. A totally different movie, Hallelujah, Leonard Cohen, A Journey, a song by Dan Geller and Diane Goldfein. In the title, you find everything, the work and the life of a great songwriter and poet, seen through his most famous song, which was made as a cover by many other singers. It is a peculiar and unique biography taken from archive material, balance between sensuality and spirituality, with a number of covers of Alleluia that make you shiver. Another musical movie, De André, Storia di un impiegato, by Roberta Lena, is the second musical documentary. It is not just a portrait with unedited elements of this beloved songwriter from Genoa, but it also a survey on his personal relationship with his son, Cristiano, who is reinterpreting all the songs in his famous album. At the end of the screening of the movie, Cristiano De André will make a short live concert in Sala d'Arsena on Friday, September the 10th at 9 p.m. Another documentary, Django and Django by Luca Rea, starting from an unedited interview to Tarantino, telling about his admiration for Sergio Corbucci and the Italian Western movies, a real cinema lesson that will become a part of our history. Ezio Bosso, Le cose che restano. Giorgio Verdelli, the author, the director, was in Venice last year with a nice portrait of Paolo Conte, and this time he's proposing a memory of this beloved composer, extremely popular. He was struck by a terrible disease that didn't prevent him, however, from organizing concerts, extremely appreciated by his public. Out of competition fiction, Il bambino nascosto by Roberto Andò. It is the I have them in alphabetical order, but this is the closing movie of the 78th Film Festival. In the year when many directors seem to have are at their best, also Andò is no exception. Silvio Orlando is giving us one of his best performances, contained and moving, whereas the story that I do not want to tell you about is unpredictable and surprising. He's working on spaces inside, outside of an old Napolitan building with its secrets and mysteries, the relationship between a music teacher and an adolescent escaping for a number of reasons you will see in the movie. A nice way to close our festival. Les Choses Humaines by Yves Attal, out of competition. He's adapting the novel by Karine Toul with the same rigor, the same intensity of the novel. He deconstructs an act of sexual abuse and the following legal proceedings. A few movies can be present in this situation as this movie with the fantastic cast. Ben Attal, the son of the director, as the protagonist, the abuser, and then Charlotte Gainsbourg, who will be in Venice with another movie I will tell you about later, and Matthew Kassovitz. Aria Ferma, the third movie by Leonardo Di Costanzo. In our view, the most convincing work by this director. Totally shot within a real jail in Sardinia, a prison in Sardinia. The movie stages the peculiar relationship between the head of the prison police, Tony Servillo, and the prisoner, Silvio Orlando, both of them extraordinary protagonists, waiting for the prison to be definitively closed. A movie that invites you to think of jails, prisons, and the value of detention as of today. Halloween Kills, the 12th episode of a famous saga, epic tale, directed by David Gordon Green, who is now shooting the next chapter that will be screened next year, a trilogy that is going to be a cult for those who love this kind of movies. The interpreter, Jamie Lee Curtis, will be awarded the Golden Lion for a lifetime achievement. It is one of the 3 movies of Universal Pictures in Venice. La Scuola Cattolica, Stefano Mordini, is telling us about one of the most atrocious and meaningless events in the history of Italy in the 1970s. He's seriously following the events as described in the novel written by one of the protagonists of that terrible story. Old Harry by Pozzi Ponciroli is a Western movie. Is it still possible to shoot a classical Western today without working on nostalgia? It is an approach to this genre by Ponciroli with a cast of very good actors, with Tim Blake Nelson emerging among the protagonists, and it is a reprocessing of the myth. I do not want to make any spoiler. We are not too far from Clint Eastwood and his Unforgiven. The Last Duel by Ridley Scott is not the latest movie by Ridley Scott. It is not yet ready. It was shot last year, then they stopped because of COVID, and they resumed the shooting. Last But One movie. It is a real story in the Middle Age from the point of view of 3 protagonists, as in Rashomon by Kurosawa. The protagonist is a woman who was abused and who has to face the institutions of that time with the rules of chivalry. If we feel something contemporary in this movie, it is because there are still elements of the 14th century present in our society today, and this is the object of a lovely discussion, a lovely debate in our country. I am grateful to Disney for being back in Venice after some years of absence and for granting us this international debut. Another important movie, Dune by Denis Villeneuve, little to say on one of the most expected movies of this new season, a new chapter in the filmography of one of the most interesting authors in the great Hollywood cinema today, an important novel, a fantastic cast, and special effects never seen before. Visually, it is an impressive movie. These are the basic elements of a super show you will have to discover. Again, allow me to thank Warner Bros. For offering us the privilege of this premiere. We confirm our mutual loyalty. Last Night in Soho by Edgar Wright, second Universal movie in Venice, a very nice movie, I must say. Not only a musical, a pleasant musical with the dreamlike scenes, with fantastic choreography, but also an unexpected revision of the swinging London of the 1960s with a horror movie closing, unexpected and disquieting, a fantastic score, two fantastic protagonists and many iconic actors, among whom Terence Stamp and Rita Tashingham. A small section we are used to, the series, TV series, Out of Competition, a mini-series produced by HBO, Scenes from a Marriage, written and directed by Haggai Levy. The Israeli director is one of the most important TV series creators in Treatment, The Affair, Our Boys. 7 years ago, he was contacted by Ingmar Bergman's family that proposed him to rewrite the masterpiece by Bergman. The result is a surprising movie. It took Haggai 7 years to find the correct key to rewrite this movie. And his work is at the same level as Bergman's, with unexpected narrative variations, very good protagonists, very good interpreters, Jessica Chastain and Oscar Isaac, giving their best. Oscar Isaac is present in Venice with 3 movies this year. The most expected section of this film festival, competition, Venezia 77. It will open with Madres Paralelas by Pedro Almodovar, the opening movie. A great comeback in competition for Almodovar. He was here in 1988. A female story, as many others in this film festival, confirming his extraordinary sensitivity to the theme of motherhood. Another comeback, Anna Lili Amirpour. She was here in 2016. The Bad Batch was the movie. This is Mona Lisa and the Blood Moon for this year. Once again, the director plays with the codes of different genres. She's giving a surprising, colorful, and funky portrait of a girl with strange powers, and I will not add anything more. The film is located in New Orleans. She has run away from a mental ill clinic. Stéphane Brisé, another comeback to Venice, un autre monde, another world. The 3rd chapter of a trilogy on the world of labor. The first 2 movies were beautiful. This time he changes his point of view. He told before the difficulties of workers and trade unionists facing a cynic and brutal world. This time he takes the stance. He sees the reality from the point of view of a company manager who has to face dramatic decisions. I think this is the best movie in the trilogy, but I let you judge. Vincent Lindon is extraordinary in his performance. We have seen him in Cannes this year. He's perhaps the best French actor in these current days. Another comeback, Jane Campion with The Power of the Dog, taken from the homonymous novel, a very hard movie with a great cast, Kirsten Dunst and an unpredictable Benedict Cumberbatch in an unusual and complex role, unpleasant role, confirming his great ability as an interpreter. Another Italian movie, the 2nd out of 5, is America Latina, of the the Innocenzo brothers. They are rapidly climbing Italian cinema, and they are among the most interesting authors in this country. After a choral movie like Favolacce, they are proposing a kind of solo movie with the extraordinary interpretation of Elio Germano, the excellent Italian actor. There are different surprises in the movie. I won't tell you anything more. For the first time in competition in Venice, a young French-Lebanese director, Audrey Diwan, with L'Avènement, taken from the homonymous novel by Annie Ernaux, telling her personal experience dealing with abortion when she was a young student in France in the 1960s, when abortion was still prohibited. A very hard movie, sometimes, at times unpleasant, but it reveals a great staging ability, and Anna Maria Bartolomei will certainly have a great career after this movie. Competencia Oficial by Gaston Duprat and Mariano Con, the third time in Venice for this couple of Argentinian directors. They won a Best Actor award with Ciudadano Illustre in 2016. This time they are teasing the narcissism of actors and directors. They are supported by a high-quality script to which Andrés Duprat collaborated, and three great stars, Penelope Cruz, Antonio Banderas, and Oscar Martinez. Another Italian movie, Il Buco by Michelangelo Frammartino, the second of the 5 Italian movies in competition, 11 years after the previous movie, Le Quattro Volte, with which he emerged in the international landscape. He has reconstructed the story of some speleologists and their adventure in 1961. They went first at the bottom of the deepest cave in Italy. It is a beautiful movie, and I will not tell you anything more. After the awarded movie last year, Nuevo Orden, we have again in Venice Michel Franco with Sandow, interpreted by Tim Roth and Charlotte Gainsbourg. I will not tell you the story of the movie because I cannot ruin the surprise of this work, nor the suspense of a story that is based on a disquieted vision of this director, who also will be the producer of another movie I will tell you later. From France, the second of the 3 French movies in competition, Illusion Perdue by Xavier Giannoli, from the homonymous novel by Balzac, an exciting movie with an excellent cast: Cécile de France, Gérard Depardieu, Xavier Dolan, Jean Balibar, Benjamin Voisin, who is the protagonist. And what is most interesting is the attempt to transform into contemporary events the story of the writer looking for success in Paris. A very sensitive and difficult operation, which, however, has perfectly succeeded in this case. The Lost Daughter by Maggie Gyllenhaal is the debut of this actress in direction. The movie is taken from the homonymous novel by Elena Ferrante. Olivia Colman is very good in describing the turmoils of a middle-aged woman facing the ghosts of her past. In the cast, many other important actors, Dakota Johnson, Peter Sarsgaard, Ed Harris, Alba Rohrwacher, and many others. Another comeback in Venice, expected, Spencer by Pablo Larraín. In the year of the anniversary of the birth of Princess Diana, the movie by Larraín is focusing on the days when she decided to divorce from a family she could no longer stand. Great interest and expectation for the way in which Kristen Stewart will describe Princess Diana. And knowing Pablo, we are sure the approach will not only be something based on the news. Freaks Out by Gabriele Mainetti, third Italian movie. After a debut with G. Grobeau in 2015, we are all waiting for him with the second movie, 6 years later. Many rumors about the shooting of this movie. Your curiosity will soon be satisfied. No disappointment, I'm sure, for his ambitions, for the production, and for the fact that Mainetti, although very young, has managed to do everything by himself. I'm sure he's really a peculiar case in Italian cinema and makes me think of great authors of the past. They are also mentioned in the movie. You will find traces of Fellini, of Leone, and many others, in a movie that remains extremely personal and original from my point of view. Fourth Italian movie in competition, Qui rido io by Mario Martone. Mario Martone is loyal to this festival. He's always present with his movies. I think this is one of the most successful movies from my point of view. It tells the story of Edoardo Scarpetta, the forefather of a family of comedians in Naples. And for an actor, it is easy to describe the theater scene in Naples. Servillo is the protagonist, extraordinary protagonist of this movie. You will have to discover the other qualities of this movie. On the Job, The Missing Eight. You know nothing about this, I'm sure. A movie from the Philippines, the best of the national production between genre movie and author movies. Eric Matti, he comes from B-series movies. He made softcore movies, superheroes, horror, police movies. In this movie, 3 hours and a half. This year we have many long movies with more than 2 hours duration. It is perhaps because of the impact of the TV series on cinema. In this movie, I was saying, Eric Matti makes a step to quality productions. With a brave denunciation of political corruption in his country. A baroque and excessive movie that we really enjoyed. From Poland, we have Leave No Traces by Jan Matuszynski. It is evidence of what we used to define as political cinema is not dead. 160 minutes, the director uses to describe a real episode, the death of a young man after being beaten and arrested by the communist regime in Poland during Jaruzelski domination. History again, the Stalinist regime that is in the background of Kapitan Volgonokov Betzal. Kapitan Volgonokov escaped by Natasha Melkulova and Alexei Chupov, who are well known in Venice because their debut movie was quite appreciated in 2018, The Man Who Surprised Everyone. It was also screened in many festivals. They were awarded many prizes. It is a pleasure to have them in Venice again in the main competition. It is an ambitious and powerful movie, an extraordinary protagonist, whom you will also see in the other Russian movie, Mama Ya Doma in Orizzonti, Yuri Borisov. Remember this name because we will see him quite often in the future. Another comeback to Venice is Paul Schrader with The Card Counter, coming back to his favorite themes, sense of guilt, redemption, desire for revengeance. Oscar Isaac, the protagonist, with William Dafoe and Ty Sheridan, are the protagonists of a moral triangle that develops on the background of a detention camp of Guantanamo. The last Italian movie in competition, you all know about that, is the new movie by Paolo Sorrentino, È stata la mano di Dio, The Hand of God, produced by Netflix. It reconstructs the tragic events that brought to the death of his parents, but also his painful living, his mourning, and that led him to move to Rome and become the director we all know and love. In the cast, we have Tony Servillo, who is in Venice with 3 movies. Reflection by Valentin Vasiljevic. He's also known to the Venetian public. His first movie, Atlantis, won the award as the best movie of Orizzonti in 2019 and was then awarded many prizes internationally. It is a great pleasure for us to welcome his second movie in the main competition. The themes are very similar to the themes in the first movie, horror and violent war, some extremely violent scenes that will probably disturb the audience. Probably spectators should be warned of the violent scenes. The difficulty in overcoming the wounds that this war causes in human beings, the power and the intensity of Vasiljevich's gaze is really peculiar. The last movie in this selection, La Caja by Lorenzo Vigas, second movie of the winner of the Golden Lion a few years ago. The movie was Desde Allá. It took him some years to complete his second work, not only because of COVID, but also because of his desire for perfection. I will not anticipate anything. You will have to discover it in Venice. We wait for you here to celebrate, we hope, a new start for cinema. Before concluding, allow me to add something. A festival is the result of a teamwork, not just the result of the decisions made by one person. I want to thank all those who have been with me in this difficult year, who have shared problems, assessment, and decisions, starting from the president of the Biennale, Roberto Cicutto, I thank him for his support, the General Manager Andrea Del Mercato, and no more names, but the whole organization and administrative structure of the foundation. Angela Savoldi, my assistant, I have to mention her. And a particular thank to the experts who have shared with me the choice of the movies, exchanging views with authors coming from countries I would never arrive on myself. I want to thank those in charge of Venice Production Bridge, Biennale College Cinema, and Final Cut in Venice. Thank you all for following me. Thank you for the national and international press that has always followed us and supported us and hope will support us this year as well. Thank you all for following us from home or from your office. And I'm sorry for my inability to be synthetic in my explanations. Before passing to the questions, allow me to add my gratitude. Last year, together with the team of the Biennale and the authorities, everything happened because we had journalists, photographers, producers, authors, and the audience that came numerous to Venice. And with us, they co-produced the film festival and demonstrated that together, by respecting the rules and participating, you can really succeed in very difficult enterprises. Thank you for what you did last year and hope you will repeat your support this year as well. Thank you all and see you in a while.
Vero? No, perché è stato rimproverato lungamente nei giorni scorsi.